Ho, ho, ho. All right, all right, all right. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to you and yours from the Toilets to Titles family. And it's very festive this evening. If you're watching live at home, I'm loving this backdrop. It's making me feel warm and cozy. Like I don't have a warm hot chocolate in front of me, but like just being here with my man Justin in his Colt Santa hat and his ugly Christmas sweater and this backdrop, man, like I feel like it's Christmas Day. And I introed this cat, and it's my main man, my co-host, my right-hand guy, Justin Stevens at Justin FF underscore on the Twitter. Justin, what's happening this evening?
Nothing much. I'm feeling pretty jolly. I do got a complaint though. Like I've had like 8 or 9 people call this sweater ugly now. I don't get it. I love it. I love the sweater. Why everybody keep
That
calling
is
me
that
ugly?
is the ultimate. That might we're gonna have to like over time, like there's multiple things I've wanted to do, like with what is it called? Like taking things we've done over the first few years and putting it all together. Like if we compiled all your dad jokes,
Collage.
a collage, yeah. If we did that for your dad jokes, that would have to be that would be in there. That would be the
I was
holiday
at
version.
my wife had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and I was waiting in the car, but I had to go to the bathroom, so I went inside and I asked the lady if I could use the restroom, and she looked at the other lady who was wearing a Christmas sweater, and she said, "Now see, that is an ugly sweater that I could get behind." And I looked at her and I was like, with stone cold look in my eyes, because it was a different sweater, but I looked down and was like, "You think this is ugly?" And she was like, she got all like emotional. She's like, "Oh no!" Like, and I was like,
No,
"Don't worry
she
about it.
let
I'm
you
saving
down.
for the season."
Man, I'm just gonna pause real quick before we continue the intro. Our guy, Chris's videos, he is like one of the ones that's been riding with us
Yeah.
like for a while now. And I am proud.
Patreon.
Chris's videos got in the playoffs in all four of his fantasy leagues, man. That
Nice.
is huge.
Nice. Very good.
That is
That's
huge.
amazing. And he's a
Yeah.
Patreon too, so I don't think that's just a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great. I'm not even going to repeat that, George. that, you're trying to get me in trouble here. Uh, I did not. Dennis is saying, how can Justin feel jolly after Saturday? Listen, if any one of us is going to be upset after this weekend, it's going to be me. Justin wants the
Hey,
high draft pick.
that's right. You know what? I was happy about the first half. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about it. I was happy about the first half. I
Let's talk.
strongly felt.
Tell the listener who's not watching and who might not be aware of what game you're talking about. Which
All right.
game?
Well, I'm assuming that he's talking
Yeah.
about the Colts
Right,
game.
but there's Podbean,
Yeah.
Anchor, Spotify.
Right.
These
Gotcha.
guys are listening at home and gals.
Understood, understood. So the Colts and Vikings game. I'm obviously a big Colts fan. The Colts were up. I think it was 33 nothing at halftime, and even then, I told my wife it's not going to happen. This is great. This is all good. This is well and fun. But they had grossly overperformed. There is a lot of luck involved in football as well, and they had a lot of good things go their way in that first half. Like it wasn't realistic. There was no way it was ever going to be that good of a game, and it just happened to be because they had enough fall their way early in the game. I totally saw this coming. And then at the end of the game, when it was over, it's like, yeah, well, they gave us an exciting competitive half, and it was fun to watch at least. I mean, I'm in it for the draft pick at this point. They have to win out the last 3 games, and Tennessee lose out the last 3 games just to get a playoff spot by winning that division. And neither of those things are going to happen. So at this point, we are sixth in line, I think, for the draft pick. So we have the sixth overall pick coming up as of right now. So I want to see a couple more losses at least and hover right around that top 5. And let's finally get a quarterback next season.
Man, Zaire Franklin has been a revelation for you guys. If Darius Leonard can come back, Kenny Moore healthy next year, if you're sixth overall, and if you happen to pop into the top 4, and there is a way for you possibly to get Will Anderson from Alabama. I don't know how, if you could move up, he's probably going to go top 3. If there's a way with DeForest Buckner, with that defense, I know you probably want to, you probably want to develop that offense still, work on that offensive line, maybe get a quarterback. but that defense, I think, is real close to
Yeah. Well,
being phenomenal.
Zaire Franklin, his rookie season, he only started 2 games and he didn't play a whole lot on defense. He still had 29 tackles, 14 solo tackles. Even in his rookie season, like you could see that this was going to be somebody that was going to be something. And then all of a sudden, at the time, Darius Leonard, now Shaquille Leonard, came along and it kind of suppressed him from being able to really grow like I had hoped, because they both wanted to play that inside linebacker role. Finally, last season, Zaire Franklin was moved out to that right side linebacker position, and he was able to get more playing time and really start to develop last season with 40 tackles. And he had his first ever tackle for loss after 4 seasons was last season. And then finally this year, with the way it's come down with Leonard, honestly, I'm not sure we're going to see Darius Leonard come back at this
Yeah.
point. He's already considering retirement before this issue, this last injury. I think it's another Andrew Luck situation where just too many injuries, too young, all that money, no real reason to come back other than the love of the game. And he's got a young family. I mean, like young kids. So I don't know. If he doesn't come back, I'm still okay with the way the defense is moving
Yeah.
forward.
I just think they're very close to being great. And Uncle Steve is saying they need to go quarterback. Chris's videos is in here is saying stay away from Will Anderson. He wants the Bears to get him. Jalen Carter, if you can't get Will Anderson, he's a dude as well from Georgia. But there's a possibility. Hendon Hooker from Tennessee, I want to say he's like 25, 26 years old. And because of that, he's going to drop. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't go till the early second. So you could probably get one of these. So we know Bryce Young's going to be gone. We know CJ Stroud's going to be gone. And then after that, there's a few guys, but there's some question marks. So it's going to be Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. If you can get one of those defensive players, and then even if you have to move up into the end of the first, if you're picking fourth in the second round and you can move up to the end of the first and get a guy like Hendon Hooker, I don't think that's terrible if you didn't get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I don't think that's terrible.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know. I really want a quarterback, and no
yeah,
George. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I don't want Andy Dalton. I don't want Jimmy G. I don't want any of this crap. All right. I want a good, solid rookie quarterback that we can start to develop and work around. Because had we not lost Andrew Luck, this team would be a full team. We would have a real opportunity. We would have been chasing competition the last couple seasons instead of chasing our tails.
yeah. And there's also, I mean, if you wanted to move up from 6 or 4 to 1 or 2 to get
Possibility.
one of those quarterbacks, if one of those 2 teams in the top 2 is content, thinks Anderson's the best player or thinks Carter's the best player, and you guarantee them if you move up, you're taking a quarterback, and they know they can get one of those 2, they might be willing to move back.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Draft season, man. Draft season. We love draft talk here. We got January 5th. We're doing our third mock draft of the season. So you're going to want to check that out. That's a Thursday. I believe it's 8:30 p.m. We're going to have a lot of analysts on this again. And if you want to go check it out, I think episode 150 was a mock draft. Go to toiletsandtitles.com. Go to the NFL draft tab. You'll be able to see our mock drafts. You'll be able to read them. And then you'll also be able to find the link to the episodes and find them on there. But anyway, we got a little bit carried away talking about the Colts. I'm not even going to get into it about my Cowboys because I'm very disappointed, man. But anyway, it's week 2 of the fantasy football playoffs. This is the Christmas episode, and we are holly, we are jolly. I made it. I played in 8 leagues this year. I made it to the playoffs in all 8, and then I'm out in 2. I got knocked out in 2 of them, and it hurts. Regardless of how many teams you have in the playoffs, it stinks when you get knocked out. So I think I had 3 on a bye. Scott Fishbowl, I advanced. But Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. I had J.K. Dobbins. My running backs were just stout. Waddle stepped up. I had Evan Ingram. Dalton Schultz did okay. So everyone, I just had a very consistent lineup. And then Hurts and Mahomes were like, I had nobody do 0. There was something else I was going to say, including a bed and going to the bathroom in it. But nobody did that, if you know the reference. No one gave me a 0. All right. And now, with Jalen Hurts going down, we'll talk about that a little later. All right. So I might need some help. So how did your fantasy playoffs go this week, Justin?
So I was in 11 lineup setting leagues this year. I made the playoffs in 5. One of them was Scott Fishbowl, though, so I got beat in the second round of Scott Fishbowl, so I'm out there. The other four, I was the number one seed in two of them, so I haven't played yet. But one of those was rough, and I'm going to talk about it here in just a little bit in one of our segments. But so I'm a one seed in a couple of them, and I'm still alive in two of my home leagues. So yeah, I'm excited. This is going to shake out. This is going to shake out well for me in at least one of these. I got a feeling.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be all right, man. I think you're gonna be okay. You know, I think the things are gonna work in your favor. My man Andrew Blandy, my old neighbor, moved down to South Carolina. Huge Gamecock fan now. Huge. You know, he's really into those guys. So he's down there. I appreciate you checking in, man. I hope you guys are all doing all
Hey,
right.
we're going to be talking about the South Carolina area here in a little bit
Yeah.
too.
So just hold on tight, man. That's where he moved down to, man. He stopped at south of the border. If anyone ever drove from the north down south and knows what south of the border is, that's it's Andrew Blandy's favorite place, man. He might have moved south just so we could stop south of the border and go shopping. Oh, George Reed still alive in Scott Fishbowl. Love to hear it. Uncle Steve earlier mentioned Frankenstein, and he knocked me out this week. So Mephistopheles is rolling. The Wolf Man could not handle it, and there's a trophy behind me, and I'm rooting for Uncle Steve now because then I won't have to put it in the mail. I can drive the trophy with me to Canton
There you go.
this August and hand it to him. And I think that would be like a very nice way to go about passing the trophy off, you know, seeing
Yeah.
somebody in person. And then that's also usually the night of the draft. So to be able to hand the trophy over to Uncle Steve to take some pictures and then start the draft, I think that'd be a lot of fun. All right, some semantics, some things we got to go over. Check us out on the Twitter at Toilets to Titles. I am at Coach Sheps on the Twitter, and Justin's at JustinFF_. However you're watching this, if you got the YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe to the show, throw us some comments. If you have Apple Podcasts, we appreciate a 5-star Apple review. That is an easy way to get into that Frankenstein League. You throw us a good 5-star Apple review, you make us laugh. Frankenstein is $25. You'll get it for free. If it's just good, you'll get in because we're adding 36 teams, but you'd be surprised how quickly those teams fill up. So if you want to get in, throw us a 5-star Apple review. We are doing a donation for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So we started December 1st, and we declared we're going to donate $2 for every new subscriber we gain between December 1st and December 25th. And we just hit 855. So that was 25 subscribers. We were up to a $50 donation. I'd like to get to 100, but I know it's hard to ask for that. You know what I mean? I don't know how many people are going to listen to this before December 25th. I'll just donate. I'm going to donate $100 anyway. So that might take away some of the leverage we have to try to guilt people into throwing us a sub. But you know what? I'm going to donate $100 anyway. But if you want to support the cause, if you want to throw us a sub, that'd be greatly appreciated. And it's going to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Justin, do you happen to have the Patreon notes pulled up? Because I do if you don't.
I do absolutely, but I do want to say, man, this is that whole St. Jude's thing was something that was completely out of nowhere. Just you kind of surprised us all with it. That was all on you, and we appreciate your heart for kids, man. That's awesome. But yeah, it's patreon.com/toilets to titles, and you can sign up for any of the 5 levels here that we have. We've got the $3 level that gets you into the Discord Toilets to Titles team chat. That's all the guys from the Toilets to Titles team and all the Patreons all rolled into one Discord chat. We have several different channels in there, so you got different things that you can talk about. You can ask questions. You can give comments. You can give your own advice if you want to. Hop on there and give advice to other Patreon members. The $5 level gets you that same Discord access, but it also gives you access to our waiver wire and Patreon only episodes that we have throughout the regular season
and the off season. We're gonna have to think. We're gonna find some ways. We're gonna keep. I don't know if it'll be weekly like it was in season, but we'll come up with ways to get some Patreon exclusive content throughout the off season to make it worth it for you guys.
Yeah, and first dibs on coming on to Toilets to Titles to do an episode with us if we have something special or different that we want to do. Sometimes I'll hop in there and ask the Patreons if they want to join, like my Fun Day draft episodes or whatnot. Yeah. Like Dustin did, actually. $7.50 is the next level for $7.50 a month. You get one-on-one draft advice or DFS advice. $10 a month is a free entry into the Frankenstank. So while you're going to get invited into the Frankenstank at $5 or more, at $10 you actually get a free entry. So you don't have to pay that $25 fee for the Frankenstank. The $20 level, one-on-one roster analysis and a 30-minute breakdown of your league's draft. Also, we will spill this over into the off season for those of you that play Dynasty. If you want a complete breakdown of your 12-team league this off season and you're a $20 Patreon, then we'll give you a complete breakdown. We'll tell you what we feel like you need to do this off season to help make your team into that titles range and get away from that toilet bowl. We'll help break down the different trades that maybe you should look at, the guys you should look at to try to draft, and everything from this to that when it comes to Dynasty.
Yeah, and a shout out to Joe Clark, man. Joe knows for handling the Patreon exclusive episodes, and then shout out to the Toilets Titles team working weekly. You know, to like we didn't just put nonsense on these episodes. You know, it was waivers, guys to target. You know, for like the first 10 weeks, based upon a percentage of how much these players were owned in certain fantasy leagues, and we worked on that. And then over the last 4 or 5 weeks, you changed it up a little bit to make it a little more, you know, geared towards the end of the season. And, you know, the guys all worked hard on that. And again, Joe handled every Patreon exclusive episode all season, you know, including, so this week, you know, what we worked on, this was the last Patreon exclusive episode of the year, but we were talking about guys you should target. And I mentioned Cooper Kupp. I think it's a shot in the dark, but you might be able to trade for him if somebody is kind of tilting a little bit and they're not getting much from their wide receivers and they want to win now. Say you got Juju Smith-Schuster or, you know, player Keenan Allen, and you also got a first, or you got 2 seconds, and maybe he's willing to take on that production, and then you can get Cooper Kupp, which is a big upgrade. And we hear in Matthew Stafford, Nino tweeted it out, some quotes from Matthew Stafford. Looks like he's coming back next year. So the Kupp Stafford connection is live. It's still going. Ben mentioned Kyle Pitts as a player to target. You know, Nate mentioned Jonathan Taylor, you know, another shot in the dark, and then we go into a full description of why and how. And maybe there's certain scenarios where you shouldn't do it, and there's certain scenarios where you should. And then Ben's talking about trading away Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill. Matt's talking about holding Evan Ingram and, you know, not his hand, just holding on to him on your roster. So we got some quarterbacks that you could pick up if your quarterback got injured, you know, like me with Jalen Hurts, and some waiver wire pickups. So all, you know, it's not just we get you in the Patreon and then we just, you know, put nonsense out there. We're like, for the amount of patrons we have right now, because we are still fairly young, the amount of work we put into this, I believe it's a value. I think it's definitely something that's strong, and hopefully it's helped a lot of people, you know, do well in their fantasy football leagues this season. So another thing I want to mention, Justin's been working hard on this. I know Nate's working on this. We've been working on getting some affiliates, right? So go to toiletstotitles.com, and at the top you'll see Fanatics, a link to Fanatics. And you might be able to order some NFL, MLB. If you're an Argentina fan, you can get a Lionel Messi jersey after they won the World Cup. You can go on Fanatics. It's all sports. Buy some gear. If you click that link from our site, you know, it helps out the show and all that stuff. The Patreon, the affiliates, that's just stuff that helps us run this show and helps us continue to grow. And we really appreciate the support. So I also want to mention we got some Christmas squares. We got about like 50 left. So it's $10 a square. DM me on the Twitter at Coach Sheps if you're interested. And the way this works is every time there's a score change, you're going to get $50 if you have that score. And then the last score of the game, whatever's left over, it goes to you. So it's up to 20 score changes. I doubt there'll be 20 score changes. So if there's $500 left, it goes to you. So, you know, I suggest you get in there. Check me out on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. Last thing, before I let Justin talk about Frankenstank, we're also working on, last year we did a playoff league. We're going to work on that. We're going to get that set up fairly soon. $15 to enter. $3 of that's going to go towards running the show. The other $12 is going to go into a pot. Winner takes all. The way playoff leagues work, we're going to put it on myfantasyleague.com. We're going to do the pay-ins on leaguesafe.com. And you could pick a player once throughout the entirety of the playoffs. So there's no draft. You submit a lineup. You don't know what everybody else's lineup is until that week actually starts. You could pick whatever players you want that are playing. But then next week, none of those players are available. So you got to be kind of picky and choosy about who you're putting in there. And you got to kind of have an idea of who you think's going to advance, who's not going to advance. So there's some strategy in there, but it is a lot of fun because there's no draft and you have like the complete pool of players to pick from, and then every week it narrows down. Players are removed, so that's $15. So DM me at Coach Sheps. You can DM us at Toilets and Titles, and we'll get you set up for that. So Justin, we need a Frankenstein playoff update, my friend.
Absolutely, and I'll love to give that to you real quick. Right after we talk about Facebook user here, Facebook user lost Jalen Hurts. He's asking.
I think that's Fry. I think he every now and then Coach Fry, who's a patron, comes in here. I think that's him.
Gotcha. It's either him or Uncle Steve, but Uncle Steve's already commented in the actual YouTube. So, so again, you guys all know Sunday mornings the Blitz. You definitely want to ask this question. Then, especially, well, actually, they might. George, you're in the comments. Are you guys gonna do the Blitz on Saturday morning, on Christmas Eve morning this week because of the Saturday games? But anyhow, real quick, we will try to answer this as quick as we can. I'm probably gonna go Brady here. I like the Goff matchup. Minshew's going up against the Cowboys, but with Brady with that defense, they're going to be going up against potentially the QB3, whoever that is in Arizona. That game's going to get out of hand real quick, and I can see Brady in that offense having really good field position the whole game.
Stay tuned to Dudes and Duds.
There you go.
And your question will be answered.
There you go.
All right. So give us about 15 minutes and you'll know who to play. All right. That's a teaser.
And it looks like George doesn't know. All right. So next up is the Frankenstein playoff update. So so the Frankenstein playoffs, it got ugly, it got vicious, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and then Steve finally got his lineup set, and so he was able to pull off a victory. Though Uncle Steve pulled off the improbable victory against the Wolfman here, that's sitting right next to me, and that's why Wolfman is now rooting on Mephistopheles, or however you pronounce that.
Jonathan Taylor getting hurt me, and then Kirk Cousins having an absolute day. Like that was, and then Christian McCaffrey, like Uncle Steve had it going on, man. Mephistopheles has it going on. I gotta say it.
Cousins had an absolute half.
but a huge one, dude, at 89 points. 89 points. So if you're new to this, like Frankenstein is ridiculous. The score was 346 to 298, and you start 10 or 11. So that's like 30-point average per player. So it's pretty ridiculous, but Uncle Steve had it going on, man.
Yeah, so we had 4 teams advance because we are down to the fearsome 4. Mephistopheles was Uncle Steve. He was the 12th seed. The 1 seed, Joshua from Fusion, Demonic Infusion, advanced. Dracula,
and he's been in since year 1.
Yes, yeah. Dracula, the 9 seed, at Cruiser 127, also advanced. And then the number 8 seed, Mumra St. Brown, Chris's videos, the man that commented earlier.
No, that's Chris Hind. It's definitely different.
Chris Hines.
Yeah. So it's not Chris's videos. So that's not Chris Hind is a fellow picker from the 2nd. So we started a 1.02 chat. We've been talking smack about everybody all season, and kind of working together and plotting. So he's in a different division. So he's representing.
All this time, I thought Chris Hind was Chris's videos.
No.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So when Chris's videos commented earlier and said that he's in the Final 4 in all his leagues, I thought he meant Frankenstein as one of them. So I guess not. All right. So Mumra St. Brown, in this round, in this final, they're the fearsome 4 round. The guy that was the worst overall remaining seed gets to choose his opponent for this week. That seed was the 12th seed out of the 20 that made the playoffs, and that's Uncle Steve. So he chose his fate. He got to decide between the 1, the 8, and the 9, and he went with the 8 seed, Mumra St. Brown, Chris Hind, to face this week, leaving the number 1 seed of Demonic Infusion, Joshua, to face the number 9 seed, Dracula. So yeah, it's going to be an intense fearsome 4 here. So hopefully everybody makes it out alive.
Man, Lori just said you look like Thanos snapped, and you're disappearing with that sweater with the green in it and your green screen.
Yep.
You definitely look like you're dissipating.
Wait. She made an Avengers reference?
Dude, she made an Avengers reference.
Wow. She has 2 master's degrees, and I've never been this proud of her in my life.
Yeah, very, very like she's man,
Wow.
very
Alright.
impressive.
I
Have you
like
guys seen the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special yet?
the Christmas special. No, I don't think so.
Dude, if you have Disney Plus, if you have access to it,
We
it's like
do.
a 30-minute, 45 dude, it's hilarious. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Right
Like, it's
on.
better than some of the movies that came out this year.
Well, she's watching right now, so she won't let me forget. I
Dude,
couldn't I
please,
couldn't find a pen to write it down to
please
scroll.
watch it, and, Kevin Bacon's in it. It's funny. It's very funny. All right, we got some injury and some news discussion. I think the first thing we should talk about is Jalen Hurts
Oh,
spraining his AC joint in week 15. Almost certainly going to be out for at least week 16. They might even, with the Cowboys losing, it doesn't seem like the Cowboys have a shot at winning the division. Doesn't seem like the Vikings have a shot at winning the conference. I think the Eagles might be able to shut this guy down and roll into the playoffs with him healthy.
man, wouldn't that be something for fantasy?
Oh man, devastating.
Yeah, and
But they
and
don't care.
and what about, what does that do for Dallas Goedert too? Because he's also on our list. It looks like he's making his return this week against the
Yeah.
Cowboys, so now
He
he's
wa he was originally slated to come back week 15, and I was counting on him, man.
Oh, me too. Me too. I had to make some last second pivots
Yeah.
last week.
I think the Eagles are still gonna play well. I think Dallas has given them like 6.5 points, and I don't know how I feel about that. The Eagles are gonna be up for that game. And
Yeah.
with Minshew can chuck.
Not only
But
that, but it's about so much of football is a mentality, right? So
yeah,
sorry, this thing got in the way. So much of football is a mentality, right? And they Minshew is the type of guy that can get a team to rally around him. I don't know what
yeah.
it is about that stash, but they rally around that mustache, man.
Especially in Dallas.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
they're in Dallas, prime time, Christmas Eve, showtime, lights are on. Like, it's like it's a different atmosphere than Philadelphia is like the working man's city. So maybe Minshew mania wouldn't be as wild. But you go to Dallas where the lights are on, they could definitely rally around that.
Yeah.
I could 100% see that. All right. Mike White will likely be out again in New York. So Zach Wilson time again. Tyler Lockett has a similar finger fracture to the one Chris Godwin experienced in 2020. That fracture cost Godwin one game, and it looks as though the same timetable is likely for Tyler Lockett. So Lockett fantasy managers, that kind of burns. You might be missing out on him. Lamar Jackson has yet to return to practice, but there's still a possibility of return this week. The Ravens aren't doing too well without him.
Yeah.
Like Dobbins looks good, but I'd like to see Dobbins and Jackson.
And now just from everything I've read, it looks like it's going to be pushing it to get Lamar out there this week, but it is possible. So at this point, we still don't know. Make sure you tune in Friday for TGIF with myself and George. We will have a better update then.
Yeah. And then finally, Austin Eckler, who is currently the RB1. Austin Eckler, RB1. I was looking at some numbers today, and this is kind of going on a tangent. Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp, even though both of them missed so much time, they're like wide receiver 11 and 12 right now. Still.
Yeah,
I know Chase is back, but he missed like 4 or 5 weeks. Kupp's missed like 7.
those top-notch players, man, they
Yeah.
are a world of difference in
Dude,
fantasy.
they're still wide receiver 1. Kupp is a wide receiver 1 right now.
Yeah,
Crazy. But I lost him. Goddard just killed me in one team. I still managed to make the playoffs, but it was tough. But anyway, enough about me. Some more about Austin Eckler. Shoulder injury, probably nothing serious as he came back in a limited role in the second half. Something to monitor this week. And Josh Kelly is the handcuff to have in that backfield if you're interested. Lori, aren't you glad you don't have to buy a new eye?
it does. So listen,
I don't understand this
it's
joke.
funny. I'm going to explain it. It was an inside joke, but I'm letting everybody in on it. So Peyton, everybody, it's not a secret that my wife and my uncle Steve have a feud. It's a bitter feud that goes back to when she used to play fantasy football years ago, and he jinxed her quarterback, Steve McNair, and like he put the total hex and said he's going to be hurt, and he ended up getting hurt that week and cost her the championship against him. So anyway, there's a feud. So she knew that my son was playing Steve this week in the playoffs, and before she had told Peyton that if he beat Steve in the regular season, that she would get him an extra Christmas gift. So then there was a deal that was or was not necessarily agreed upon by Lori, where Peyton could possibly get a free iPhone if he beat Steve in the playoffs this week. But Steve beat him, so now I'm off the hook from paying for an iPhone.
There you go. There you go. Savior right there. You don't have to worry about it. The feud lives on, and I'm Team Lori. I'll always be Team Lori,
That's
even
right.
though Mephistopheles beat me. I'm Team Lori. All right, we got a question here from Search and Kill. He wants to know if you should start ETN or Pacheco. So Pacheco's going up against the Seattle Seahawks, and then ETN is going up against the New York Jets. If it's PPR, I'm going with ETN just because I like his ceiling. I think Pacheco might have a higher floor, especially in standard scoring. But this far in the playoffs, I want the guy with, especially with the way McKinnon's playing for the Chiefs. Like I don't know if they. I mean, he looks like the number one there.
Full
You
PPR.
know, full PPR. I'm going with ETN.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And it's not that close for me. And also on top of that, I'm facing ETN in my main home league this week against one of the luckier guys in our league. So ETN's going to have a good game.
All right, all right. So bet and locks of the week. All right, I'm
And
going
then
with.
this one's Darren Waller. Don't overthink it. It's Darren Waller.
I don't know. That's another tease. Stay tuned for dudes and duds. All right. Bet and locks of the week. All right. Minnesota Vikings -3 versus the New York Giants. The Giants are being exposed and the Vikings are coming in on fire. Like they were absolutely lighting it up. The Vikings are going to score a lot in this game, and the Giants are not going to score a lot. So give me the Vikings -3. And then the Eagles +6 at Dallas. Even with Minshew at the helm, I'm not confident this Cowboys team can show up and play a complete game. Like, I could see them going up by more than 6, but I don't think they finish that way because I don't know what's up. You know, they're just not playing complete games. They're not playing to their full potential. So give me the Eagles +6. I almost took the Jaguars +4 last week, and I wish I did. Like I was so close to doing it. And now I'm probably going to take the Eagles +6. The Eagles will be up for this with the Cowboys. I don't know. We're going to have some fun this evening. All right. We added a few segments before we do dudes and duds. And I'm sorry to
Do
those
we, do
that
we want
are,
to do the game of the week?
oh man, I no, of course we want to do the game
Yeah,
of the week,
I
man.
thought so. I knew we were cutting stuff out. I was like, man,
No, I messed up. But I skipped something. I
we
was
do
wait.
need to make it quick though because I want to have more fun with
All right.
those other segments.
Go ahead. You start.
All right. So the recap of last week, the game of the week last week, I chose the Dolphins and the Bills, and it was a 3-point game. So we add 3 points to our season total. That brought me up to 179. I'll get to that in just a moment. Coach, you chose the 49ers and the Seahawks. That was an 8-point game. We add the 8 to your season total. That brings you to 170. So you're beating me 170 to 179. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season loses. Don't need to really over discuss that. This week's game of the week, though, was interesting, though. So I got on there and I looked, and I didn't think that there was a heck of a lot of super interesting games
Mhm.
this week. Like I thought we were kind of picking out of the bottom of the barrel in this one, but I went with the Dolphins and the Packers. It's a Christmas Day game at 1 o'clock on Christmas Day. From the sounds of it, it looks like my family's doing most of all of our Christmas stuff mostly on Christmas Eve. Do got to check with Uncle Steve about Grandma Mary's. We'll talk about that later. I think I'm going to be able to watch this game on Christmas Day at 1 o'clock. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, there weren't many good games because you know me, I don't like to pick the Cowboys as a game of the week because I think it's bad juju, but I had to because there were no other options. So Christmas Eve, this is going to ruin my Christmas Eve, especially if they don't play well, which is frustrating. You know, they already take Thanksgiving from me because they've been not very good on Thanksgiving the past few years. And even though they won this year, it was very close, too close for comfort in the first half. So Eagles at Cowboys, Christmas Eve. This one's even with Minshew, I'm nervous. And let's see if the Cowboys show up. But I think the whole world's going to be interested to see this because there's a chance they're going to play again in the playoffs. Eagles beat the Cowboys with Cooper Rush at quarterback. The Cowboys are going to play them with Minshew at quarterback. And then maybe we'll get to see them again with Dak and Hurts healthy and teams at full strength. So now we can move on. So Justin, we put a segment together. Oh, so Joe Clarkson here said, love the Colts Santa hat, man.
I was just giving him a thumbs up.
Joe, we gave a shout out to you, man. Joe, who's in the chat, Joe Clark, that's Joe knows. And he absolutely crushed it this year with the Patreon exclusive episode. So we appreciate that 100%. And then George saying Dolphins versus Packers. We will finally see how Rodgers does in the cold, projected to be in the 50s.
Yeah, so I want to know, George, is that the temperature or Aaron Rodgers projected to be in his 50s.
The age.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers is another dad joke. Add it to the list. Add it to the list. All right, Justin. So I wanted to see what's on your Christmas list this year, man. Football related, fantasy football. We're gonna have a little bit of fun, and I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'll let you know what's on my list.
All right, so what's on my Christmas list? I have two things because why not be greedy? Like Santa's a very generous guy, so you ask for the moon and maybe you get a star, and I'm okay with that. But in a dynasty league where my team is absolutely dominant last season, I got a bye week, and then a bunch of fluke things, injuries, and bad luck happened that caused me to lose in the semifinals. So after the bye week, they came out flat. I lost. I think I ended up in third. This year, it's in the same league, and I have the number one seed. I have a bye again. Then this week, I lost Jalen Hurts and Jonathan Taylor. So I feel like this time I had to make sure I mitigated the losses because I didn't do so much last season, thinking I'll still be okay, and I wasn't. So I mitigated my losses by trading away what is projected to be the 203 in the 23 draft, which is also my last draft pick in that league. I mean, I think I have a couple fifth rounders, but they're nothing. But the 203 is my last draft pick in this 23 draft, and then my first and second for the 2024, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I don't even know how I ended up with him. I've never liked the guy. You know this, John.
Mm-hmm.
But I traded all that away to get Saquon Barkley to try to give me that push these last 2 weeks. So Joe, you better send out that text message to your boy Barkley and make sure he eats his Wheaties the morning of Christmas Eve. Let's see. It says
It's going to be indoors too, on turf.
Good.
Which I think is good for that.
Yeah.
That'll help him.
So all I'm asking for Christmas is history. Please do not repeat itself. And for the fantasy football gods to respect the effort and give me this W to give me a shot at the title in this league. Because this is the league I took over as an orphan like 3 years ago, and I annihilated the team, wiped it out. I had like 25 draft picks in one draft, and I got all kinds of crazy good young players. And then now here I am, kind of scraping the barrel again, trying to even compete. So just to give you an idea, in this particular league, this is who I've lost, and this team that I've lost, the players I've lost this season alone would be enough to start a dominant fantasy team. So I've lost Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp, Zach Ertz, Javonte Williams, now Jonathan Taylor, and Jalen Hurts. So there's at least a guy at every position there, 2 running backs. Like that could be a dominant playoff run for any team. And they're all, on IR or out for me. So I still have a great team. Don't get me wrong. I'm really deep there, but it's bad timing.
Devastating.
Anyway, the other thing I'm going to ask for that's on my Christmas list for Santa, in case that's just too much for him because I know Santa, he can do a lot, but fantasy gods are also pretty powerful. So I don't know which one's going to get the W there for me. But my other Christmas list item is a solid quarterback in this upcoming draft for the Indianapolis Colts. We need this, Santa. Please put a quarterback in our stocking.
Yeah, there you have it. So Santa's going to come through if you're on the nice list. We have another Facebook user in the group chat, and I don't think this one's Fry because Fry has already said what's up, but he wrote "Howdy fellas." And if you're familiar with South Park, for some reason I read "Howdy fellas" in Butters' voice, like it's. So I'm imagining Butters is sitting behind a computer right now, watching us somewhere out in Colorado, South Park, Colorado, getting ready for the fantasy playoffs. And that's probably all he's got to look forward to right now because the Denver Broncos are trash. Besides their defense, they could use a quarterback too, but they're not going to get one because they're locked up to their quarterback. All right. What's on my Christmas list, you might ask? I'm greedy too. I've asked for 2 things, and I'm going to keep adding to these things because I'm already thinking about different things I could add to these. So first thing, I would like a dominant pass rusher to line up opposite Micah Parsons in 2023 and beyond. And then if you want to give me a dominant run stuffer who eats up blocks and keeps our middle linebacker clean and stifles the opposing running game, I'd like that too. If Joey Bosa becomes available, maybe we trade for him. If Jalen Ramsey somehow, say the Rams bag it in. If Jalen Ramsey comes available, he wants to put him alongside Trayvon Diggs, sign me up. Give
And
me
you know
another
these
superstar. Go ahead.
yeah, you know these guys always like to try to go for the ring
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end of the
So
season.
give
Or the
me give me another superstar alongside Micah. Man, I would if somehow Joey, like the Chargers, move on from Joey Bosa, we could get that cat out here in Dallas to play with Micah Parsons. Like I would be through the roof. So just get me a star to play with the Cowboys alongside Micah Parsons, please. And the next thing I'm going to ask Santa is I would like whichever quarterback I decide to play in place of an injured Jalen Hurts in the Scott Fishbowl this week to be productive enough to help my team advance yet again. So just not, I can't have a hole in my lineup. I can't have a five piece. Just somebody give me 18, 22 points, somewhere around there. I might go with Gardner Minshew. I might, because even if the Cowboys do get ahead, they're going to be chucking. They got AJ Brown, they got Devontae Smith, Goddard's back, and I think there's going to be some points to be had there. So whoever I choose, just let them be decent enough to not hurt my roster and knock me out of the
and
fantasy football
if
playoffs.
you do go with Minshew and the Cowboys are dominant, you're still gonna be happy.
Yes, win-win, 100%. All right, the next segment I added was the naughty list and the nice list. So Justin, why don't you tell me who was on the naughty list this season?
Okay, so is this the list where we talk about George and Joe and all the
Yeah.
guys from the team, or is
Oh
it
yeah.
the one from
No,
the
that's our text. That's our text communications
Okay.
behind the scenes.
All right, gotcha. All right, so on my naughty list, I'm coming out I'm coming out guns a blazing on this one. I saw this opportunity and I can't help but take it. I've done a great job of avoiding talking about this guy because I don't even want to mention his name. So I've come up with a different name. I'm going to call this guy every time I have to say his name on the show because he's a professional football player. And unfortunately, I can't get around it. But the Cleveland Browns are on the naughty list this year. This team's front office revealed to Santa just how naughty they are when they signed the human predator to a 5-year, $230 million contract. I get that they are 2-1 since the human predator has taken the start, but realistically, their defense won those games. They only gave up a total of 17 points in those two wins, and the human predator accounted for one touchdown in those two games. The Browns now deserve anything negative that go their way from here on out. I will no longer have sympathy or empathy for that team. The second guy on the naughty list, it's kind of a whole list of a long list of guys that have kind of been. It's one of those things where they're not really breaking a rule, but they're kind of bending a rule, and I don't think Santa likes it. I
No.
chose one out in particular because he was recently fined. I think it was like 50 grand for it, deservedly so, and that is Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates, along with any other player that fakes an injury in the last few minutes of a football game to stop the clock and delay the game just to get a free timeout or to slow down the pace or the tempo of the game, you are on Santa's naughty list. You are getting coal in your stocking.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. Don't be a cheater. No one
Yeah.
likes that. No one likes cheaters. All right. The naughty list for me, I'm going to start with the LA Rams. And they won the Super Bowl last year. Everything was great, but they sold their soul to win the Super Bowl last year. And they've been snake bitten this season. Stafford and Cup are down. They have 0 first round picks in the next 2 drafts. And it's not looking good. All right. So the LA Rams, though they were winners, they went too far. They're on the naughty list. And also Zach Wilson. He went a little bit too far as well. And I'm not going to get into that discussion, but I will talk about him throwing his teammates under the bus, losing respect from his teammates,
Yeah.
losing respect from the coaching staff, getting benched, not looking like he's ever going to play again in New York. And now they got to put him in at quarterback because Mike White is down. But the city's behind Mike White, the coaching staff's behind Mike White, the rest of the players are behind Mike White. So Zach Wilson, you are 100% on the naughty list. And I'm going to start with my nice list. All right. So for my nice list, Brock Purdy, aka the Brock is hot. So shout out to DDP, Nino Brown. He just dropped the Dynasty Diamonds with the Brock Purdy. The Brock is hot. Purdy has stepped up and has helped the 49ers to back-to-back wins. 49ers fans have to be grateful, like absolutely grateful for this young man this holiday season because their hopes are still alive. All right. And then also this next one, these two, I got two guys here on the nice list, and that's Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Kids all around the world can look at the way these two have shared so nicely this season. Sharing is caring. Zeke and Pollard sharing touches, BFFs. Things are great as far as the running game goes in Dallas. So Zeke and Pollard, you are on my nice list. What about you, Justin?
So the first guy on my nice list, I can never say his name without thinking of Chris Berman and the way he would say his name, Baker Mayfield. So
That's
Baker
good.
Mayfield.
That's
This
good.
guy, this guy got crapped on by the Browns with the whole offseason situation. By the signing of the human predator and letting him go after all the grit that he laid out on the field for that team. He was given a second chance with the Panthers, and then that didn't work out. And now he's given a real opportunity with a decent team around him when they're healthy, at least, to be in a decent offense with a decent coach. Um, uh, and compared to his last two opportunities, anyway, it seems like a better situation for him to try to prove himself again. So this man obviously has done something nice to be on the nice list to be able to continue to get this many chances.
Yeah.
So good for you, Baker Mayfield. And I'm sure your charity work has a lot to do with that as well. And also the charity work of one Debo Samuels. So Debo is giving back to his hometown community in northern South Carolina. So actually Spartanburg, South Carolina. So this is a reference to your boy earlier that we were talking about, who's a Gamecocks fan. So he Debo is giving away $300 shopping sprees along with bags that have football merchandise and an autographed item to 50 different kids in his hometown through the Boys and Girls Club of Spartanburg, South Carolina. So kudos to you, Debo. You are on the nice list. Santa's going to leave you some nice stuff too.
Man, and the BFTG charities, they're on the nice list as
Oh yeah,
well. George Reed.
that's the only way that those guys can get on the nice
Yeah.
list, though. That's the thing. Like,
Well, I didn't mention their names. I mentioned their charity.
that's that's right. They have.
Together with the charity work on the nice list, separate naughty list. All right. So George and Jason, shout out. Check out BFTG, Break from the Grind,
If
and
you're not
their
watching
charity work.
on YouTube, make sure you get on there, watch on YouTube, and go back and watch this conversation over here because I'm not going to keep pulling up all the comments.
Oh yeah, these guys on the side going bananas. All right, dudes and duds. This is what you're here for, especially in the fantasy playoffs, man. Let's get some dubs. All right, dudes. Kirk Cousins versus the New York Giants. Cousins has had the third highest scoring total of quarterbacks in Week 15. So Cousins had the third highest scoring total for quarterbacks in Week 15, and he is getting hot at the right time. The Vikings gutted out an emotional win, and I believe the momentum will carry over to their Week 16 matchup with the Giants. And this next one's for Coach Fry. Jared Goff, the Carolina Panthers. Even though Goff failed to score more than 17 points in his Week 15 matchup against the New York Jets, I was still impressed with the way he played and with the fact he stayed strong against such a stout defense. Goff is currently quarterback 13, which I would have never guessed on the year. And I believe with this performance, he's going to move up into the top 10 for the year. So after his Week 16 performance, you're going to see him move up from quarterback 13 to quarterback 10. At running back, Aaron Jones at the Miami Dolphins. Who wouldn't welcome heading to Miami in late December rather than playing outdoors in Green Bay, Wisconsin? Like, come on. These
Yeah.
dude's got to be, every Packer player has got to be ecstatic. The Packers will continue to rely heavily on the run, and Aaron Jones will once again top 20 PPR points against the Dolphins, their 22nd ranked defense against the run. Kenneth Walker at the Kansas City Chiefs. I was a little concerned about Walker coming into Week 15 after missing time with an injury, but he received 16 touches and finished the game with 12 fantasy points, which is decent. I like Walker's chances this week going from 16 touches to 20 plus and taking advantage of those touches against the middle of the pack Chiefs run defense. DK Metcalf, the Kansas City Chiefs, is my first wide receiver. That's right. We have back-to-back Hawks on this dude's list. The Chiefs are allowing 37 points per game to opposing wide receivers. And you heard Tyler Lockett's a little banged up. So those 37 points got to go somewhere. DK Metcalf, he gets the benefit from that matchup this week. Look for the Hawks to have to score plenty to keep up with Kansas City and Mr. Mahomes. So DK Metcalf, you're going to get the ball plenty of times. You're going to score a lot of points. DJ Moore versus the Detroit Lions. DJ Moore is coming off a 5-reception, 73-yard performance that included 1 receiving touchdown. Moore gets to go from facing the 4th worst defense against the pass in Week 15 to the 2nd worst defense against the pass in Week 16. Give me some more. Dalton Schultz. This is another, we talked about Waller. We talked about Schultz. Dalton Schultz versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles will do a good job of locking up the Cowboys outside wide receivers. I don't think they're going to be concerned about Gallup or CeeDee Lamb, with Darius Slay, with James Bradbury. The Cowboys will opt to have Dak check down to his tight ends more often than not, especially with the way Dak's been handling the football and all those turnovers. He's going to be checking it down. Schultz has played well this season, but not to the standard he set last year. This week, he'll finally live up to that standard, and you'll finally get a monster week from Dalton Schultz. Finally for my flex. Alvin Kamara at the Cleveland Browns.
Are you sure
Please,
about this one, Coach?
please. This may be wishful thinking. All right. It may be wishful thinking due to the fact I have many Kamara shares across all of my fantasy football rosters because I love Alvin Kamara. But the Browns have given up the second most points to opposing running backs in PPR. And this is a phenomenal matchup. And Kamara has had success in the fantasy playoffs in the past. It's just the writing is on the wall. All he's got to do is show up, show out, get some touches. So I'm putting him on my dudes list. But as a flex, all right, he's usually an RB1, RB2 candidate. I'm putting him as a dude for flex. All right, if you're in a spot where you could put Alvin Kamara as your flex, you're probably got a really good roster. So yeah. Alvin Kamara, he's a dude at the flex. Finally, my duds, Dak Prescott versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys have been leaning heavily on the run, and rightfully so, given the amount of turnovers Dak has been responsible for the season. The Cowboys want a shot at beating Philadelphia. They will need to win possession and play great defense. Dak will be in game manager mode this week. All right, absolutely game managing, maybe 25, 28 passes, probably go like 22 for 28, 23 for 28, maybe 198 to 205 yards. And if he gets a touchdown, but it's not going to be monster numbers. That's like QB2 territory in Superflex, and you don't want to touch him if you're in a one quarterback league. Next, Trevor Lawrence, the New York Jets. The Jets defense has been playing great football. Like Jets defense, man. Robert Saleh, great coach. If they had some consistency on offense, he could be in a position to win Coach of the Year because that team is competing in a way that I don't think many people expected him to. I think people are still looking past them. And even though they're being looked past, every single week they're playing tough. And that hats off to Robert Saleh. Excellent coach. The Jets are only allowing 15 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Lawrence and the Jaguars will be heading to a frigid MetLife Stadium, and I believe the weather conditions as well as the strength of the Jets defense will be too tough for Lawrence to overcome. Brian Robinson at the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have been a wasteland for opposing running backs, and this week will be no different. The 49ers will not feel threatened by the Commanders' passing attack. They'll be able to key in on Brian Robinson, and they're just going to eliminate him. All right. James Conner versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Joe Mixon was held to only 21 yards on 11 carries in Week 15 against Tampa Bay. And I think Joe Mixon's a little more talented than James Conner. And I think his offense is a little more talented than the Arizona Cardinals. This week, the Bucs defense will face the Cardinals and their shell of an offense that is currently reeling without Kyler Murray, though they were reeling a little bit even when they had Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And the Buccaneers will eliminate James Conner. So Mr. Conner, not John Conner, James Conner, eliminated. All right, CeeDee Lamb versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think Darius Slay is a good matchup for Lamb. I don't like it. All right, I also don't like that Dak Prescott has been throwing quite a few interceptions so far this season. Like I said earlier, Cowboys are going to rely heavily on the run, avoid the pass, and they're going to avoid the contested pass, I think. All right, I think they should. And Darius Slay is going to be right there with Lamb. So I don't think he's going to get a lot of targets. Zay Jones at the New York Jets. So I paired Lawrence with Jones. I paired Dak with Lamb. So I'm duds for those rosters.
Yeah.
All right, Jones will likely be seeing a lot of sauce this week, and the sauce will smother him. Trevor Lawrence will be wise to look elsewhere in this matchup. Next, George Kittle versus the Washington Commanders. I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear this. If you drafted George Kittle, you don't want to be sitting him right now, especially how he's played with Brock Purdy. The Commanders will be outmatched in basically every single phase of the game, except for when it comes to covering the tight end. They've just done a great job of it, and they're not outmatched there. They can cover George Kittle. The numbers don't lie. Finally, Mike Williams at the Indianapolis Colts. We rode the Mike Williams wave in weeks 14 and 15, but it's time to get off. All right, go hang out on the beach somewhere or just go put someone else in the flex spot, one or the other. All right, the Colts secondary matches up well with Williams, and there are plenty of other options in that passing attack for Herbert to target. So that's it. Justin, what is your slow your roll or your all in?
So my all in, because I went with an all in this week, my all in is that I'm all in on the Detroit Lions making the playoffs. They are 6-2 in their last 8 games, and their 2 losses were by a total of 9 points against the Packers and the Bills. And the Packers obviously is a tough divisional game. every time they face, regardless of their record. And the Bills are currently in the lead for the number one seed in the AFC. So for them to only lose by 9 points to those two teams, win all 6 of their other games in the last 8, and now they're down to the last 3 games, who are all against teams with losing records, albeit one of them is the Packers again. But it's tough to beat the same team, same divisional opponent twice. And then the Panthers and the Bears are the other two. I feel strongly that if they can just win 2 of these 3, they're probably getting in. And then I feel that 2 wins out of these 3, like I said, that'll be enough to get them in. And I doubt that anybody in the playoffs are going to want to face the Detroit Lions in the playoffs, because they're just that scary of a team when it comes to the weapons. Like, they have enough individual weapons that they can pick at you,
and they play hard.
Yeah,
they play.
That's Dan Campbell.
They believe they can compete with anybody, and that's half the battle. Belief is, your mind is so powerful, man. And the Lions believe, they believe they can compete.
Yep.
I'm all in on the Toilets to Titles 2023 offseason. I know the NFL regular season's not over. I know the fantasy football season's not over, but I am all in on, we love the offseason. If you've been with us since day one, this don't stop. We're, dynasty. We're doing, draft profiles. We're doing mock drafts. We're bringing on big draft analysts. Justin's working on the team breakdowns. We're breaking down as many teams as we can. We're getting beat writers from all these organizations. So we've got so much going on, but there's still so much more that we can do. We're trying to round this thing out and become the best network we can be for you, the listener, the viewer. All of you that are listening right now, at one point we had 11 views, live. We usually get anywhere from 60 to 100 views on the YouTube. Clearly we want to bump those numbers up, but also we want to reward you for tuning in, and we want to work on this network, and we want to make sure that we're putting out content in the off season that's going to keep you around, that's going to help you. All right. Cause football is gone, but just because the NFL is gone doesn't mean I miss it. By it's I'm a little burnt out, but once March rolls around, March 1st, I'm man, I need it back. And we're going to be there for you to give you all that content. Go ahead, Justin.
So this is your opportunity to put in the comments below here. Just type in there something that you might want to see this offseason. Let us know, because we are a people person. That's what we do.
We're people.
That's right. We're people.
Yeah.
So we want to do that for you. So if you tell us something in the comments, something that maybe our website's missing, or maybe something that you want to see as far as an episode goes, or a special guest that you think you could get for us, that you want to hear us talk to, anything, just let us know, and we'll see what we can do to try to make it happen. If it fits in the show, we'll make it happen. We're not going to force something, but we'll do our best to fit it in the show if we think that it fits nicely.
If you want more Carolina Chris, maybe you want me to go get Denver Dave to come on. We got, guests for days. So if there's anybody you're interested in, you let us know. We could try to go out there and get them. Justin's doing those fun day drafts. So if you want to come on, reach out to us, especially if you're in the Patreon. And the off season is going to be fun. And don't think that we are gearing up right now. We're not I'm already through the transitional phase of season's over, lick your wounds. That's happened. I'm already now at the next phase, the first step of the next phase. I'm over the lick of the wounds. I'm ready to roll into the off season. So I know it ain't here yet, and I don't want to push that on you. I just want you to know we'll be ready for you. So Justin, what was your last week's prediction for this time next week?
So last week's prediction was that Baker was going to go out this week and earn a starting spot for the future in LA, not just this season. I felt like he would probably come out guns a-blazing, and we would have a quarterback controversy on our hands for next season, because Stafford did not look that good at the start of the season, and he and McVay were even kind of going at it a couple times, and McVay, you could tell, was very visually upset with Stafford a lot. I still don't think that this is out of a possibility. Obviously, Baker did not play as well this week. Is really cold temperatures and whatever excuses you want to come up with. It's Baker Mayfield. He usually plays through that grit, so I'm not making excuses. It is what it is. He lost. He didn't lose the game. The team lost the game, but he didn't do anything to win it this time. But I still think that there's a real strong possibility on that Baker plays out this season well enough that McVay thinks that he could do something with it. Let's
What's
see.
your prediction for this week?
My prediction for this week: the Titans, who are currently favored to win by 7. I predict that the Texans will actually win this game outright and finally move themselves in a position where they have more wins than ties on the season. So, and you know what? Honestly, most of this is because the Texans have been playing so well that even against a much better opponents where they should be getting blown out, they're actually competing. They're if I were a Texans fan, knowing that they were going to probably only win 1 or 2 games all season, I would think that more of them were going to be blowouts. And I'd probably feel like there was some light here, knowing I was going to get a high draft pick and also got to see a little bit of competition from this team. So I'm mostly just kind of giving this team a little bit of props here, and I think they have an opportunity to beat the Titans this week. So good luck.
Yeah. All right. And CFB Nation's just in the chat. Shout out to KT. Shout out to Moon. Shout out to Real Ones Productions.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing them on the mock draft. They were on the first 2. Great show. Go check them out on YouTube. Go subscribe to CFB Nation. Nino's over there as well. He's on there Tuesday nights, and it's great stuff. Or Monday nights, one of those 2 nights. Probably Monday night, because Tuesday night he's doing head-to-head. Toilets and titles. So go check it out. I mean, if you check out the YouTube channel, you'll find out yourself when he's on there. So check that out. All right. My prediction for what we're going to be saying next week is that the NFL needs to. I had my slow your roll, you're all in. Did I?
What?
I had my slow. I was all in. We're on this time next week.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did I not change the banner? That's
the way you were looking at me. I thought I missed
you didn't put your this time next week in the show notes.
Yeah, so I knew I did something wrong.
I hear it. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. All right. I knew I did something wrong, but I wasn't sure, and I was trying to read your eyes. Your eyes were staring at me. All right. So my this time next week, we're going to be saying next week, NFL, leave Christmas Eve alone.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
We don't want football on Christmas Eve, especially a week 2 of the fantasy playoffs. So many people are going to be devastated. Yeah. All right, devastated.
I feel bad for the players, man. Come on.
Well, come on. They're making millions of dollars. You know, like their kids.
Not all of them. Some of them have to bag groceries in the office.
Okay, this is another conversation. We could feel bad for the players. I don't want to sound like mean, but I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about
Christmas.
Yeah, I'm talking about fantasy managers all over the world and their families. You know, mommy or daddy, they lose in the fantasy playoffs.
Right.
And then instead of wrapping presents, they're throwing them out the window because they're furious, or they're drinking too much to calm their nerves. And, you know, a lot of Christmases might be ruined by some bad attitudes because some teams don't play well. Some fantasy teams don't play well. We're an emotional lot. All right. Fantasy football managers. I'm an emotional lot. Don't ruin my things. Well, you already ruin my Thanksgiving every year because the Cowboys and being in New York, sitting at Thanksgiving, everybody rooting against the Cowboys just to get on my nerves. And now I got to deal with this on Thanksgiving. And you're putting us up against the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, who I hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So NFL, leave Christmas Eve alone. And that's what we're going to be saying next week. Justin, you have anything else to say before we head out?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, just very, very, very grateful for all you guys. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Whatever you celebrate, I hope you enjoy it. If you don't celebrate anything because you're a Grinch, then I want you to be the Grinchiest Grinch you can be.
Yeah.
Because we still appreciate you for you being you. Just let other people be them too.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been a great year. We're going to have another episode before New Year's. So I'm sure we'll have little resolutions or whatever that we're probably going to talk about. But still, in case you don't catch that episode, it's been a great year with you guys. We hope to have another wonderful, awesome year with you guys next season. And that's all I got.
Yeah. All right. Well, happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Whatever it is you celebrate, we appreciate you being here. Like, that's a gift. Having viewers and people who read, listen to, view our content, that is a gift. So you've been giving us gifts all year. So hopefully we can help you out. And hopefully we help you advance. We help you get into the fantasy playoffs. Maybe we help you win a fantasy championship, whatever, or maybe just the camaraderie, the friendships we've gained. All of that's gifts as well. So happy holidays. Be good, stay safe, and don't let the NFL ruin your Christmas. All right. That's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. All right. Take care, everybody.